Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, this is Joanne Victoria, the I Know What Works coach, and I am the author of 7 books, including Lighting Your Path, How to Create the Life You Want, and Pushy for a Moment, Instant Solutions to Everyday Challenges. I'm also the host of the Sanity Project podcast, which you're listening to right now, and I partner with IT professionals in telecommunications, technology, entertainment, and mass media industries whose work-life integration plan has imploded and who want more success, more confidence, more fun, and more inner peace. I interview people in all areas that would help an employee or a contractor live a more confident, more fun life. And it includes spirituality as one of the topics. And today we have a certified spiritual consultant with us. Let me introduce to you Melissa Kitto. Melissa Kitto is a leader in the field of spiritual growth and development. She has been on her own spiritual growth path since the age of 12 when she learned to communicate with her angels and inner guidance. She uses this guidance to direct her life's path and decision making. For the past 20 years, Melissa has taught thousands of people how to establish a direct communications with their own angels. Melissa is a certified spiritual consultant with the Wayshowers College, Inc., and an ordained minister with Peace Community Church. She is the co-author of the How to Communicate with Your Angels ebook, and Melissa offers in-person workshops and online programs via her website, www.communicatewithangels.com. And today, Melissa is going to show you or tell you how to find out how to tap into your inner guidance and intuition. Welcome to the show, Melissa Kitto.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. How's the weather right now?
It's very cold, actually, here in Virginia.
I know, I read that, and it was kind of like odd that in the East Coast, the southeast coast of the United States, how cold it was and how much snow there is. Certainly, I've got friends in North Carolina. So how do you align with your unique life purpose with the inner guidance of your angels and your intuition?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's many steps that we could talk about with that, but I think one of the most important things for the person listening is to start to have a practice of looking within, because we're all so busy in our daily life and we're working hard and we're raising families, etc. And most people don't take enough time to start asking themselves, what is it that I really want? We all are energy. That's the real you. And you can actually feel this energy if you rub your hands together.
Which I'm doing right now.
And then take, great. And then take your hands maybe 3 inches apart and just notice what it feels like between your hands. So how does it feel to you, Joanne?
Well, it feels like something is growing in between my hands and pushing my hands apart. And it is, it's like well, right now my hands have been pushed apart like a foot, at least. And there's just something there. We could call it energy. And that's what I'll label it for today. But I have a lot of it in between my hands.
Yeah, exactly. And so for a lot of people, it feels warm or tingly or like a magnet. But the longer that you start to tune into this, you realize that there really is something there. And this is the real you. So you are a soul with a body, not a body with a soul. The real you is energy. And this means that we're like radio transmitters that are picking up impressions and energy all the time. So we can pick up on other people's thoughts and feelings. And the real you is very intuitive. So all the time we're getting hunches and impressions and ideas from our inner guidance. But the degree to which a person is aware of that is the degree to which they've, allowed that part of themselves to come out. And most people are very psychic and sensitive when they're young children. But as we grow up, and especially when we start going to school, we're taught to rely more on the logical thinking part. So I'd imagine people that are IT professionals are very much in this world. It's more logical thinking, analyzing and dissecting almost that part of us. That part of us is good. Go ahead.
I was going to say a great many of them are. However, there's a creative aspect to IT as well, which people are not aware of. Everything that's put together is not just the logical, quote unquote, left-brained venue. It's also creative. And when we have people who create code, who design code, that's a combination of both sides of the brain. That's logical and creative. But there is a lot of artwork and macro viewing of everything, so that there's, an opportunity for both sides of the brain and many different types of people to use this intuition and checking in with the angels aspect of life, this energy that you're talking about. They can use this. I know that they have, because I advise them to pay attention to that or refer them to someone, and I would, probably wind up referring them to you so they can get in touch with that side of themselves.
Yeah, and it's so practical, and it can help us in all areas of our life. But most people, as they get older, they kind of learn to deny that part. But it's actually not learning something new. It's reawakening what you always had inside and is really the real you. So I get a lot of my clients who get hunches, ideas, impressions, whether it's coming from their own intuition or their team of angels, and they immediately doubt themselves or talk themselves out of it. So a big part of this is realizing that there is truth in that part of us. It's more subtle than the thinking mind, but there is, like you said, a creative power in that. And so we have 4 spiritual gifts or types of perception, you might say. And everybody has all 4 of these, but you have one in particular that's most prominent for you. So the 4 gifts are intuition, which is more the clairaudient side of us. This is like hearing the still, small voice inside. It's more the hearing, maybe even hearing your name called and there's no one there. Or sometimes even hearing music, or just hearing a message, a word, a phrase. For me, it's usually very short and sweet. It's not a lot of words. Then we have our visionary gift, where it's more seeing pictures in your inner vision, so pictures, symbols, dreams, that kind of way. And then we have the gift of prophecy. And this is more an inner knowing, just knowing things without being told. A person who's high in prophecy, they'll say, I just know. I don't know how I know, I just know. So it's actually more of a sensing of energy. And then the 4th gift is the gift of feeling. And this gift is more when you feel things. And a person high in feeling is very, very sensitive. They'll feel what other people are feeling very easily. They go by how things feel. So we have, like I said, we have all 4, but you have one of those that's most prominent. And your first gift is also the main way that you will communicate with your team of angels or guides. So we all have a team of helpers. And to me, it doesn't matter the word that you use. It's whatever resonates most with you. So helpers or guides or angels. But we actually do have a support system, from a higher source of wisdom, let's say. And they communicate to us through these 4 types of perception. So it's like a word popping in your head out of nowhere, or a picture, or an inner knowing, or an inner feeling.
Yeah,
So these are our own intuitive gifts. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that the one, the hearing, when you spoke about that, you hear short and sweet, and I do as well. And that's one of my main things. I have the visions are not prevalent for me, but the prophecy and the feelings are. And I think so. I've got 3 out of 4 that work for me, and some more than others. But generally, what I do is certainly first thing in the morning, I will check in with I call them my committee. So I will check in with the committee of angels, their presence, whoever they are, they're personal to me, and they give me the response I need. And it certainly makes my day easier, that I don't have to worry. I don't have to fret, that, oh, what do and then when things happen during the day, I always ask, what do I do next? And then I just trust the response that I get because I've been trusting it for years. Even though I didn't know about it a long time ago, now that I'm aware, I'm trusting it for years.
Yeah. And what that reminds me of is the quote from the Bible that I love: ask and you shall receive. And so once people know that they have these helpers with them, it's like learning to ask for that help. And I love what you said about something happens in the day and you just ask for that support. So our angels will never tell us what to do or impose on our free will. They're always just giving suggestions and ideas, but they have a bigger picture than we do because they're not part of planet Earth energy, so they can see things that we can't see. So I often think of it as they have a bird's eye view on our life, and they can help us to be in the right place at the right time and to do the things that are most in alignment with our unique life purpose. So we all have a purpose in life, but I don't think it's ever set in stone or like destined. It's more, there's some things that we've come to work with and some things that we haven't. We have a niche in life. And our angels know what that purpose is or that niche is. And so they'll be guiding us toward that with little ideas and suggestions and hunches.
So how do you deal with someone who, let's just say, is a neophyte, a newbie in this world, and is willing to work with you to, tap into their inner guidance, but they're not aware of that, but they've been advised by friends or family or somebody who thinks they might benefit from your work. How do you start with them? What do you suggest that they do?
Funnily enough, I don't think I've ever had somebody like that. I mean,
okay.
I work with people who kind of know that they have these gifts or they're awakening to it and they want to go deeper. But the cool thing about the programs that I offer is you can learn these really simple tools to develop and awaken these gifts. But like I said, it's already a part of us. It's more about bringing it out and practicing it and using it.
So the video series that you're offering to our listeners, it's a 3-part video series on how to connect with your angels, which is available at, and it's also I'll be on my website and on my podcast page, http www.angelvideoseries.com. Would that help people develop and awaken and help them go deeper if they're already aware of angels?
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that people can do right away to be more aware of their angels and be in contact with them is to pay attention to when you feel chills or goosebumps or tingling on your body. that's a sign that your angels are contacting you and they want to communicate with you. And we feel that because they have a very high vibration of energy. And so when they come close to us physically, we'll feel that extra charge, almost like shiver going down your spine, etc. So if a person feels those chills, it's a good thing to pay attention to what was happening at that time when you felt chills. It can be a sign to pay attention or a confirmation that you're on the right track. Often just reassurance, reminding you that you have help. And what I do is, if I feel chills, I'll pay attention to what was happening in that moment. It could be I was talking to somebody about a new idea. My angels are giving me that confirmation that I'm on the right track, that it'll be a positive thing to do, that kind of thing. So that's a really good thing to pay attention to, because it's one of the more tangible ways that you can recognize when your angels are around you. And in the video series as well, I guide people through a technique where you can just start getting some simple messages from your guides, because a lot of people don't realize they can even ask, or they know how. You're probably already communicating with your angels much more than you realize, but it's now paying more attention to it and being more conscious of it. So if you have an area of your life that you want some help with or need some assistance, you can just start receiving a word and a phrase and a sentence and learning how to tell the difference between just your own mind thinking up things and what that experience is like when you're receiving a message from your angels. But it's good to be able to differentiate that. When your angels are communicating with you, it feels more like, oh, I received this guidance. And you know that you didn't think of it yourself because it just popped in your head out of nowhere. So you probably have that experience when you work with your guides.
Many times. I'll go, what? It's like,
yeah.
It's like, I'm not there right now, but there's always, I mean, they're guiding me right now. And I, check in and, what am I supposed to do? When I say right now, the day, and, what is my next step? I always like to know, if there's something more I could be doing that I haven't done yet. And right now they're telling me to let you talk. So, what has there been a challenge with someone in helping guide them through?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that people have with this is they kind of get in their own way. They overthink it, they doubt themselves. And that's just come from, people are not raised to do this most of the time, or they think that spirit is kind of outside of them and that they can't tap into it within themselves. And so it's really not that we have trouble connecting with our angels. They have trouble with us because we'll tend to be too tense or not relaxed. That's another tip I would share with people is really, in order to be more connected with your angels, the first step is to be relaxed. If you're tense or worried or pressured, there's more of a distance between you energetically and your guidance. So another thing that I share with people is a simple tool to kind of be more relaxed and have your energy be clear. And that's something you can do many times during the day. It just takes half a minute. But it's kind of like tuning back in to you. But yeah, back to your question, the most common challenge that people share with me is, okay, I've learned I know I have guidance and I want to talk to them, but I just keep doubting myself, or I'm talking myself out of it, or I don't believe it's really my guidance. And so at the end of the day, sometimes it's really learning to trust ourselves. And that's the most important thing. Your guides are there to help you and support you, but they won't do it for you. And sometimes people are wanting that, they're wanting someone to tell them what to do. And that's just not how they work with us, because they know how strong and powerful we really are and how creative we are. And so they're there just to back us up and also to give different perspectives on things. Like you've probably experienced that too, where you get ideas that like, wow, I never would have thought of that. But this is another approach or a solution to this area of my life that has seemed like a big problem or challenge. And so they're giving us, lots of just guidance and suggestions so we can get more fulfillment out of life.
What's interesting for me is that I read a lot, and I read a lot of fiction. And I mentioned this yesterday, I think, to somebody. And in the fiction reading, and I will sometimes, all my books come from the library at the beginning. I don't buy fiction books. So I get everything from the library, and I read a lot. I read about 5 books a week. Keeps me sane. And then I will order some books from the library, and I'll get them home, and I'll go, why did I order this book? I don't like this genre. I don't know this author, and so on. But since I have them there, I have to read them because otherwise I have to go back to the library. So I read the books, and then I find all sorts of messages in the books to me about my life. And I thought, wow, they're talking to me every way they possibly can, aren't they? And that's the way I'm taking it. So it's odd for me, a little different. I didn't know that that's how they sent the messages. And I'll say, is this for me? Because it resonates. And they say yes. Have you ever heard of anything like that before?
Yeah, I love it. I've not heard it specifically with books. I'd love to share that experience with people. That's a really good one. I think what happens sometimes is that, it's not always that we're going to directly hear a voice in our head, because our angels are helping us to learn and grow. And that's really the reason why we're here on planet Earth, is to learn and grow. And so some of that growth is beyond our understanding at this time. And so they need to find some other ways to nudge us in that direction of areas that we just, aren't ready to receive directly, So it might be through a book or through someone else's sharing or a class or etc. And what I do is I really pay attention to what I'm drawn to. And I really will feel that in the heart chakra, like, okay, what is it that I really need? And I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to a podcast, and he shared a book suggestion from the person who was being interviewed. And I just could feel, I need to read that book. And I mean, I hear about books and things all the time, but there was something about just the energy of this that I knew there was something in it that I needed to hear. And it absolutely, when I bought the book, it was a different perspective on a topic that I'd never heard before, and probably a book that wasn't very well known. So these are the little signs that they're putting in place. And that's why it's also really important to develop our own intuition and get trust in that, because that's how they're connecting with us. It's not logical a lot of times. It's like following the energy, following your intuition and seeing what shows up. And that takes some faith and trust.
Yes. Yes. What advice has stuck with you through the years?
Wow. Well, for some reason, what's coming into my mind is the word solution-oriented. And this is how our angels work with us. If we focus on the negative, we get more negative. And one thing my angels share with me a lot, and that I will also pass on to clients, but it's also advice for me and reminders in my life, is there's a lot more going right. There's a lot of positive things to focus on. And the problems and the so-called negatives are more like just growth areas. There's really no mistakes, just stepping stones. And I find a lot of people that I work with are, focused on those problems and in it. And how do I say this? Like rehashing the problem over and over again. And that our energy is more powerful than we realize. When we think about negative things and make it a problem, we just start creating more of that. So that was one thing that has been helpful for me and that I can share with the listeners is, what are the positive things that you can focus on and be grateful for what you have rather than the lack of what you don't have yet. Even people that are in a career, I attract a lot of those people. Maybe the timing isn't quite right to quit your job. In the meantime, focus on what you are learning from it and what you're getting out of it, because there's growth in everything.
That's perfect. That's perfect advice. I want to remind our listeners that they can find Melissa Kitto's website at communicatewithangels.com. She is giving you a 3-part video series on how to connect with your angels at angelvideoseries.com. And her book is available at her website. It's called How to Communicate with Your Angels. What's interesting about what Melissa is offering and speaking about is very clear. She is not giving you any shadows or it's a clear communication here. This is what I really like about her. So what I'd like everybody to do is to refer this podcast to others. That's the most important thing. The reviews are nice, but they don't get other people to listen. So refer this podcast and others that you may see on my website and on my Sanity Project podcast Facebook fan page. Refer Melissa Kitto's and anybody else's podcast so that they can listen to it. And I would also suggest people go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com and download the free book that I offer there, which is called The True Self Handbook, A Guide to Transform Your Life. I want to thank Melissa Kitto for being here today. She has been a delight and has given some great information from all of you listening. And for those of you who are skeptics, just listen. Re-listen to this podcast, and if you're not a skeptic, re-listen for her guidance. Thanks very much, and everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, A Guide to Transform Your Life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.